Hello guys, how are you? Thank you for your continuous support in this. My name is Amanda Mfozenzi, and I'm glad to come back with a knowledgeable interview from someone that you'll hear in a short while. Thank you for those who have continued supporting this ministry, and those who have not subscribed, Aki, now, but please do that. Yeah, and those who have a story to tell, also don't hesitate to contact me on the numbers on the screen. Yeah, so without taking long, I want to welcome a lawyer in the house. Help me welcome Sandra Opiyo. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Amanda.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Yes. Karibu sana on Amanda Show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you introduce yourself?
Okay. So, as Amanda has said, my name is Sandra Opiyo. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I've been practicing as an advocate for 6 years.
Oh.
I own a law firm known as Nina and Misaro Associates Advocates, where we offer different services. One of them being what we will be talking about today, which is adoption and assisted reproductive technology law.
Okay. Hey, munasikia hiyo? Today we are learning law. We are learning laws, yeah. So Sandra, this channel is about couples, and there are women who have couples who have waited, and maybe they opted for adoption, or even other people. There are some couples who just want to have like helping people, like helping children out there, and they decide to adopt, but sometimes they don't know the process and everything. So can you enlighten us on the process of adoption in Kenya?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the process of adoption in Kenya, the first step, if you want to adopt, the first step is go to the adoption society. Most people think you just wake up, go to the children's home, identify a child. No, you go to the adoption society, and this child, and so there are some requirements that you as a parent need to also fulfill to be able to adopt a child.
Okay.
First of all, the parent or the person seeking to adopt needs to be between the age of 25 and 65. Okay. So not younger than 25 and not older than 65. And they also need to be 21 years older than the child that they're seeking to adopt. Yes. Then they also need to be of sound mind. So one of the things that the Adoption Society will do, they also look at in the report. So there's a report that the Adoption Society does to court. And one of the things they look at is this parent mentally fit to take care of this child? And so you need to be of sound mind to take care of this child. You also need to not have been convicted, so you need to not have been convicted of a crime, especially sexual offenses, crimes, in order to protect the child. And so now once you fit that criteria, so a child that is being adopted needs to be at least 6 weeks old.
Okay.
So it's not like in the movies where you watch in a movie and you see, like there's someone who is giving birth and they're like, please take your... No, it doesn't happen like that.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I thought there was that.
So the child needs to be at least 6 weeks old, yeah? So there are some requirements for you to be able to adopt a child.
Yes.
So one, the child, I stated earlier, the child needs to be at least 6 weeks old.
Yes.
The child needs to, it's you can also adopt a relative, so which is also known as kinship adoption.
Okay.
And then you can, now the child also need, okay, in the act, we have the Children's Act 2022, where they say the child should, if the child is an orphan, the child can be adopted. And also, if the child is has been abandoned by their guardians and parents
Yes.
for at least 1 year, then now they can be adopted. Yes.
Okay. So apart from those who have been abandoned, is there any other category of adoption apart from the relatives?
So so we classify them into three. So we have three types of adoption.
Okay.
Kinship adoption, where you can adopt
A relative.
a relative.
Okay.
And then we have local adoption, which is what mostly happens. So with local adoption, according to the Children's Act, the people eligible are a spouse and a single mother. So initially, previously, a single man could adopt. You see now, like a single mother can only adopt a girl.
Okay.
And initially, a single man could adopt a boy. But now the act is saying, no, a single man can only adopt their relative. That is the only exceptional circumstance allowed.
Oh.
Yes.
And you can also adopt even if your parents are still alive, right?
Yes. Yes. Because basically in the Children's Act, the main thing they're looking at is what is the best interest of the child. What is the best interest of the child? That is the major emphasis on the act. Okay. So if it is not in the best interest of the child to live with their parents, then the court, can make such an order for them to be adopted.
Now, how do they check that you are mentally fit?
It's how do you medical? Obviously, now there are medical tests that are done to confirm that you're medically fit. But
now, like the bipolar, let me say, like a parent who has bipolar, and maybe that time they are going through adoption. It is not they are not having the crisis, and then in the process, maybe when they have finished the process, now the parent get the crisis. The crisis of bipolar. So how do they confirm that? Like, is it possible for them to confirm even those mental
disorders?
Yes.
Yes. I mean bipolar, depression, but I don't think you can, even just in the normal setting, you can't say that I am not, unless you come and prove that me having bipolar as a mother is not in the best interest of the child, or me having depression or schizophrenia. So if that can be shown, that this condition that I'm living with will not be to the best interest of the child, they're not going to be able to get their basic needs, there'll be some element of torture, then that is when the court can intervene and say no.
Okay.
Yes.
And how long does it take now to be able to adopt the process?
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't finish. There was a third type. Sorry. Okay. There was a third type of adoption, which is known as foreign adoption. Okay. But for foreign adoptions, there was a moratorium in 2014 that stopped foreign adoptions. So currently, according to the Act, they only allow foreign adoption if you're related to that child. So basically a kinship adoption again. Yes. So sorry, please.
So the Wazungus would come and adopt.
Yes. And that has created now a crisis, because initially, especially for the boy child. So there are many boys now in the children's home who have not been adopted, because now single men have been removed from that bracket. There's no more foreign adoption. So we have so many boys in the children's home. Oh, yeah. And so the only people who can adopt them are couples.
Yeah.
So it's created like a crisis, because now we have so many boys in the children's home, and yeah.
Why did they remove for the men, for the single men?
I think for the single men, maybe there was an I'm not saying this is what was happening, but sodomy, gayism, yeah.
Okay, okay. Now I get it. All right. So let's come back to my question. How long does it take
how long does it take to adopt? So once you have identified a child that we want to adopt, you go to the adoption society. So the adoption society declares the child free for adoption.
Okay.
And so once the adoption society does this, then you live with this child for 3 months before approaching court.
Okay. In your house?
Yes, in your house for 3 months, a continuous period of 3 months, minimum 3 months. So now after the 3 months is now when you go to court and start the process. And the process will take between, let's say 6 months to 1 year. Yes.
That's long.
Yes.
And now you're saying that you have to live with the child for 3 months. Do you have a room of returning the child if you don't connect, or I don't know? why 3 months?
Yeah, for them to be able to now, interact with you, see how the home is. And then, like for a child who is, I think, around 10, who are a bit older, they're able to now, when they go to court, they're asked, so you've lived with this person, how has it been? Would you like to live with them? And so it's the child to decide. If they say no, we don't like the living conditions, then they're taken back.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. But for now, for the little ones, those ones they don't have.
They not necessarily have a say, unlike the older ones, but yeah.
Hey, 1 year. That's long.
Yes.
Okay, and cost implication?
The prices.
The adoption, yeah.
I wouldn't say it's that pricey. It's not that pricey. Because the money you need is for court. The court process is not that expensive. I don't think you'll spend more than 3,000. But now there needs to be 2 reports. There's a report from the Director of Children's Services and a report from the Adoption Society. And so even for those reports to come out, it's Kenya. So there needs to be a bit of kickback, especially if you're not in a hurry. So if you're not in a hurry, you can just wait for the normal process. So because they come to your house, evaluate you, those tests that I was talking about, and then they also see if you're financially capable of taking care of this child. You don't need to be rich, of course, but just to be able to at least, take care of the child. What jobs do you have? Do they have other siblings? Which family will be around them? All those things.
Is there like an amount? They say the minimum amount you should have is this?
No. Because, we are trying to help these children that have been abandoned and left.
Yeah.
And so, no, we don't, it's, so maybe just the legal fees. And so if you're not able to afford the legal fees, you can represent yourself in court.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I can hear it is not really that complicated.
No, it's not.
As long as you are fit, financially stable, and able to handle that child.
Yes.
Okay. And of course you have to go, if it's a couple, you have the consent has to be done both from the couple, like the parents now.
Yes.
Okay. And you said for the single mother, for them they allow them.
Yes, single mother can only adopt a girl.
A girl.
Yes.
Oh, they cannot adopt a boy.
No.
Okay. But for the let's say there is a case of twins. Can you adopt one?
I'll go back to the issue of best interest. Because I know the courts and even the act is hesitant to separate siblings, but at times it can be, beyond your means. But the court at that time will look at what is in the best interest of these twins. Then they decide if these parents can adopt both of them at the same time, or so it's basically just what will be in their best interest. Is it staying in the children's home, or being adopted and being separated? Yes.
Wow, it can be a challenge.
Yes.
Okay. And what about Surrogacy.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a topic,
Mm-hmm.
like, not only in Kenya,
Mm-hmm.
of course,
Mm-hmm.
in America, Europe,
Mm-hmm.
that is where it is most spoken. Yeah, but also here in Kenya, it has been spoken so much. Yeah, so how is it done here
In
in
Kenya.
Kenya?
Okay.
Mm.
So surrogacy is part of, assisted reproductive technology, which is basically assisting couples that are struggling with infertility and different issues to get children. And so we have two types of surrogacy.
Okay.
We have the traditional surrogacy and we have gestational surrogacy. So the traditional surrogacy, I will refer you back to the Bible because I know your viewers are very biblical. So if you remember the story of Abraham and Sarah,
Yeah.
they struggled to get a child. And, during that process, Sarah told Abraham, hey, please go and sleep with Hagar and, get a
Get a
child
child, yeah.
for us. Yeah. And that's how Ishmael was born.
Yeah.
And so with traditional surrogacy, just like Hagar, the surrogate is the mother. She's always giving out the eggs. The only difference now is your husband won't be sleeping with her. It will be done in the lab. So it's done to a procedure known as IUI, intrauterine insemination.
Okay.
So now they take and this mostly happens when the reason why you will opt for this is because the woman, her womb has a problem and she doesn't also have viable eggs, and so they use the surrogate's egg.
Okay.
And so they use the husband's sperm, inseminate it into
The woman.
the surrogate during her cycle, and then she gets pregnant, carries the child for you.
Okay.
So that is traditional surrogacy. And then gestational surrogacy on the other side is now when, the couple is struggling, but at least the wife has viable eggs. Her eggs can be used.
Okay.
And so now in this case, it's made from, the sperms and we call them intended parents, and the eggs of the intended parents through a process known as IVF. I think we all know IVF.
Yeah.
And so the sperm and the eggs are, mixed in the lab, and then they're put into the surrogate, who now carries the child for 9 months.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can choose anyone to be a surrogate, like.
Yeah. Yes, you can choose anyone, but there are tests that need to be done.
Okay.
For them to decide, okay, this is now the perfect surrogate. So there needs to be mental health tests to confirm that she's mentally okay to carry this child during the 9 months.
Okay.
There also needs to be a test on, HIV, STI, all the sexually transmitted diseases, and also just her physical health. So they're checking her physical health, her mental health. They also do for her some psychological evaluation where they also speak to a therapist and just see if she's okay. So those things need to be done before now they decide to go ahead with the surrogate.
Okay. And when when someone is pregnant, you connect with the child. So they can be mentally fit. Okay, I won't put it in a way that after they get pregnant they become mad, or maybe they connect with the child even if it is not it is not her child. So how do they come out with in that state?
Okay. So I think basically just being bound by, because it's a contract, before you go ahead with the process, you must have a contract, because it's a very, you're dealing with human beings, and
Yeah.
it's a very murky process. So there needs to be an agreement. And so in this agreement, there needs to be clear terms. Once you give birth, in exchange for, whatever you're going through, this is how much will be compensated. And yeah. And so each party needs to understand which, that the contract needs to be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so another thing that, because we don't have any laws regulating surrogacy in Kenya, but we have a bill known as Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill.
Okay.
And so even in the bill, one of the requirements that they're proposing is that the surrogate should at least have had given birth to one child.
One child.
Yes. So at least there's no
risk of.
Yes, and so that's attachment, because now okay, I'm doing this because I want to help this couple, and there's also the financial, gain that you're gaining from this, and so now it gives you an easy incentive to just let go. Yes.
And what is the age, or for them they don't have?
So most doctors will prefer between 25 to 35. Or actually between 20 to 35, but yeah, 20 is a bit young. But yeah, that is at least that time it's not that difficult to carry a pregnancy.
Okay. And anyone can be a surrogate?
Yes, anyone can be a surrogate, but I'll say there are tests that are done. Yes,
so if I want to be a surrogate, I can?
Yes, after the tests are done, and they confirm that you can, yes.
Even if I'm married?
Now, yes, you can if you're married, but as a lawyer, when the intended parents come to me, I usually advise them, please don't go with a married surrogate, because it complicates issues ahead, especially with regard to the birth certificate. So now in this case, now you're married. Once you give birth to the child that will give birth as a result of the surrogacy, then that means your husband automatically becomes the father of the child.
Yes.
On their birth certificate. So there's a lot of it complicates it, and so we prefer single surrogates.
Single surrogates.
Yes.
So if the now let's say I am married, but maybe I have a relative who has struggled, and maybe they prefer me to be their surrogate, even if I'm married. Will they go in that process of adoption in the long run?
Yes. So currently the Kenyan law, surrogacy is not legally, recognized. And so the only way, there have been cases and decisions where they're saying that in the birth certificate, according to the Births and Deaths Registrations Act, the person whose name should be on that notification and certificate is the person giving birth.
Yeah.
In this case, the surrogate. And now, for that process to be changed, there needs to be an adoption process. Yes.
So even the surrogate now, even if she's single, she will have to. They will have to start the process of adoption.
Yes, but now you see, and that is where now. But the adoption process will just be, we are changing the name of the surrogate mother to the intended mother. Yes, that is what usually happens in most cases. Because now you find most surrogates are not married. Yes, but if the intended couple insists on it, my work as a lawyer is just to advise you and tell you it's going to be hard. But if you insist,
who are you?
Whomst am I? Just go ahead, and they're probably just like making their life hard.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's going to complicate them.
Yes. Yes.
Yay. Okay. And now, if I want to, like, maybe to go to have a surrogate and go give birth, in another country, or after giving birth I go with my child.
As who? As the intended, as the
Yes, as the intended parent.
parent. And you want to go give birth to your child in another country. So even the contracts that we draft, we insist that one of the terms of the contract is it must be done in Kenya, because different countries have different laws. So you might go to a country, there are countries where it is actually illegal
to do
surrogacy. So which will now complicate issues, because now the child won't be recognized. You're in a different, and so we advise that if you're doing the contract in Kenya, finish everything in Kenya, because we are able to, we know how our laws are, it's easier for us to advise you than you go to a different country, we don't know the laws, so it's easier to just finish everything in Kenya. And so, and I think those are the things that they are, there are things, if you breach it's a material breach of the contract. Yes.
Okay. I've had a case, I don't know if it's true, that there is this lady, okay, I don't know if she was a married lady or she was just a single one. She became a surrogate, but she got pregnant. Okay, you see, when they do the IVF, and I think she had already gotten pregnant, or she got pregnant in the process with now her husband. So when it was time to give birth, now she gave birth to twins. Then she said, "One child is mine," and the couple was like, "No, these are our babies." I don't know if that happens, if it's true or it's just a story. But in that case, how do you handle it?
So the surrogate is insisting that one of the
yes, it has.
But it's possible. If the doctor puts two embryos, and an embryo consists of a sperm and an egg.
Yes.
And so if one of the embryos was actually the surrogates and the other embryo is for the intended parents, it's possible. But that will not be ethical for the doctor to do that.
Yeah.
And
no, I think for the other one, she said that she conceived the baby naturally. Yes. And then now maybe when they put now the embryo for the other one.
Yeah, but you see, okay, yeah, I understand you. Yeah, so it's possible, but yeah, it's a bit complicated. But one of the things we normally recommend, even the court, before you do the adoption, is that there must be a DNA test.
Okay.
And so a DNA test will be done. Now, in this case, for the twins, for both of them, they confirm. If one of them is not related to the intended parents, then even in the contract we see, then they won't be paid for that other child, and that they can also be sued. Yes. Really? But basically, the person that will be suing, sorry, not they can be sued. The surrogate can sue the clinic if it was a medical error. But if she did it intentionally, then the parents can sue. The parents can sue because they had an expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're entitled not to pay for that child.
Yeah, okay. And how much is it?
How much is it?
To be a surrogate?
It varies. And we don't like putting a price tag to it, because it feels like we are selling children, but we are not. But the price varies depending on the intended parents. And so some actually opt to just have relatives carry for them, which will be cheaper. But for those who decide to have other people, they just agree amongst themselves. Yes.
So there's no like a price range.
No, because you can't put a price range to children. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if someone wants to be a surrogate, now they have to agree with the intended parent. Hey, and okay. I know that question will come more often.
Yeah,
People
and
want to know.
yeah, people want to know, but I'm not the right person to advise on that. Yeah. I think if someone is interested in finding out about that, they can reach out to clinics,
Okay.
the IVF clinics, and find out from agents or the clinics themselves. Yes.
Oh, so you have to get the cost from the IVF clinics, the cost for the lawyer who is drafting
The contract. Yeah.
and doing the follow up until the end, and now the cost of the surrogate. So 3 costs.
Yes, it's a very expensive procedure.
Compared to IVF only. Compared to IVF.
Yeah, it's a very expensive procedure, and I know like it can really weigh down, especially couples that have been looking for a child, and now the option they have is this very expensive procedure. So as I spoke earlier, we have 2 types: traditional and gestational. Traditional is cheaper. IUI is cheaper because IUI costs. I don't want to mention costs here, but IUI is cheaper. It's less than 100,000 in Kenya, and so. But then now you see with that one, there's also the risk of this surrogate might refuse with this child because they're actually related to the child.
Yes.
Yeah. And then on the other side we have IVF. IVF costs upward of 500,000.
Wow.
It's a very expensive process, and so.
And now the surrogate.
Yeah, and now you also need to pay the surrogate and all that, and. You know, even when couples come to me, you feel so bad because you're like, they have gone through so much, and you might even find some have gone through even 8 IVF cycles. You can imagine how much. Some have even spent 5 million.
Way.
People are going through so much, you know, and I know people are usually really, when they talk about this, they're more interested in, oh, how much do I another surrogate? But how are those couples that are struggling? What are they going through, you know, financially and all that? And even in the proposed bill, they're also looking for ways to try and, you know, subsidize the price. I know it won't be that easy, but also one of the things we are proposing is, you know, even talking to insurance, because it's not covered in insurance. Yeah. And so just seeing ways to make it cheaper for them, because they're already going through so much. You can imagine the emotional, and now you're already adding a financial burden. It's too much. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. People who have children should be grateful. Without going through that process, it can really be hectic, and especially now that finances, we are in hard times. Yeah, so you can imagine if someone has gone through IVF, it is not working, they opt to go through surrogacy now. Ish. And then now you haven't put the cost of the child when they come.
And also, you know, there's so many costs, like even the medical bill, the hospital you choose. It's just.
So it's like you carrying the baby into another person. So everything you have to pay. Everything. Okay, and where does the surrogate live?
They normally pay for their for their upkeep, rent, food, and so one of their costs they're provided for is how much is included inside their monthly upkeep.
And what if you decide to live where they have not paid for you? Like you.
Because, it is not a slavery. You are not being forced into this.
Okay.
And also, the intended parents also need to realize that these are, she was also existing before you
Yes,
came, and
yeah.
you can't, unless you go to where she lives and it's a bit dingy and it can cause harm to the child. That is when you can say, okay, move. But if there's nothing wrong with where they're living, why not? So they just pay for their rent and for during the 9 months.
What if there is a miscarriage or a stillbirth?
Yes, so there's a compensation for that. For miscarriage, for a stillbirth, but it depends from couple to couple. Yes, because you've already gone through the procedure.
Yeah. And they can decide to let's say maybe there's that miscarriage or a stillbirth. They can decide to say, let's try again. And then the cost will be again like
yes,
new.
because it's a whole new contract, a whole new cycle, new embryos.
What?
Yes.
Okay. That can be hectic. Wow. Okay. So if someone wants to come and approach you on either process, adoption or the surrogate, and maybe they ask you to recommend, are you in a position to do so?
Yes.
You are? Okay. Okay. So what can you tell the viewers? What can you tell them? Because you have met different couples who are going through a lot. Yeah. So what can you tell them from the lawyer perspective and a woman?
I think I'll just summarize. For me, the joy I get is at the end of all this, after a couple has struggled to get a child, and eventually they get a child through adoption or surrogacy, and just seeing that joy, in their faces, even let's say they're posting on WhatsApp, it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it works and it happens. The problem we have in Africa, we have a lot of stigma. You don't want to talk about this. No one wants to. Everyone is hiding. We don't want to be known.
Yeah.
We are struggling with infertility. We are struggling with this. But at times when you talk, you realize there are other people who are also going through, similar problems. Which is also why Amanda has started her show to show people, you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Speak up, get help, and also don't confine to the one size fits all that society has put for us, that if you don't do this, you're a failure. You're not. There's more to life than all this.
Yeah.
And yes, and I pray that God grants the desires of your heart if you're a waiting mom or dad.
Yes.
And that eventually, yes, you will get your child. Yes.
Wow, nice. So if someone wants to get your services, where can they find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. My page is on LinkedIn and Instagram, Nina and Misaro Associates Advocates.
Okay.
I will also leave you can leave at the, you normally see, there's something they normally say at the bottom of the YouTube.
Comment.
Yes. So Amanda will leave a comment with my details. Yes, and how to contact me. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, you've heard. Yeah. You might have been wondering how you can adopt, and you think it is very costly, but it is not. You've heard the lawyer, and help a child. Why not? There are children who are there who are looking for families. to belong to. So if God has given you that heart and you're wondering how to go about it, you can contact lawyer Sandra and she will take you through every process. Yes, and for the people who want to do the IVF and surrogacy,
Yes,
surrogacy,
surrogacy.
yeah, you can also still contact her and she will guide you. So yeah, drop your comments there and like, share, subscribe, and tell us what do you think about this knowledge that we have just given you. Yeah, thank you so much. And Sandra, thank you again for accepting just to share your knowledge.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, to the people out there who are watching. And I believe they have learned and also being enlightened on these processes. Yeah. So guys, thank you. See you next time. Ciao.